Okay, what's going on, boys? NealGuides here. Welcome to the first official episode of FIFA School. Hope you enjoyed the preschool series. That was one just to get a quick kind of a shortcut view on the biggest change in FIFA 23. The biggest change in the first episode I wanted to go over is taking the touch away. Now, if you're watching this, by the way, in FIFA 24, EA Sports FC 23, 24, whatever, the same principles are always going to apply. The reason why it's different this year is because they introduced a new feature called technical dribbling. I'm going to leave it here on the screen to show you a bit of an example. This is the first time that dribbling changed after 10 years. They've now made some changes which has made it a bit more effective, and that's why I could have made this video before, par for the ones that I did briefly, because I didn't want to set something in stone that was likely to change. Now, the key thing is when you're taking touch, now this is just for basic general FIFA practices, okay? The most common mistake is, let's say you're the player in white over here. The most common mistake that I see players make is that when they're making this pass over there, they have an intention of trying to move into the space and then they end up getting tackled. Now, this is the biggest and most common issue. If you're struggling with FIFA, always come back to this video. Whenever you have the ball, you have to always take a touch in a safe area. Now, the safe area I would draw out like this. This area behind player number 6, this would be, I would like to call the red zone. This is the area where you just do not take a touch into, okay? Then you have, I suppose you can say, the orange zone, which is a bit of 50-51. This really depends on the player positions. Think of it like a pie chart. This really just depends on the player positions. And then you have, I would say, the green zones, which is the more of the safe zones. When you get the ball coming towards you, let's say from player 3 to player 1, that generally speaking, this would be a normal pass, but it doesn't matter what pass is given towards you. You want to take a touch away from your opponent. If you take a touch in these areas, 9 out of 10 times, if you're up against someone who's competent, you're going to end up losing the ball. The reason people think this works is because they play a player. Let's say, for example, you're in Division 7. If this is a Division 7 player, let's say, and he doesn't know how to play FIFA, he may run past you when you take a touch upwards into this direction. He may run past you like this when you take a touch, and you might keep the ball. But as you progress higher, you're going to see that's not going to work anymore. So that's why you need to take a touch in a safe areas. If you take in orange areas, they're 50% okay. It kind of depends. If your number 6 is a bit higher, taking a touch above would be, of course, not worth it. If number 6 is a bit below, you want to take a touch opposite way, you take a touch upwards. So the key thing is, wherever this player is, you take a touch away from him. Use your body naturally to shield the ball. Don't hold the L2 button. Just simply hold the left analog stick and take a touch away. So have a look at this example. I'm going to put an example on the screen right now. I'm going to slow this down for you. Let's break it down. When I make a regular X pass from my other player to the player that's highlighted, you can see that my opponent is nearby towards me. Have a look at my left analog stick. I'm actually aiming the left analog stick and taking a touch into the space before the ball arrives to my feet. That's the key. Don't wait. So what you want to do is, as soon as you make the pass, as soon as you have the ball with this player, number 3, let's say, in theory, going back to tactical board here, and we make a pass here, as soon as that ball has left the feet, what's going to happen is you're going to have a red mark above this player's head. Just remember this visually, a red mark above the player's head. It's then going to go from here to this player. As soon as you got the ball, now as soon as the red marker goes above the player's head, as soon as that ball is moving towards you, if you aim your left analog stick upwards or downwards, that is where you'll be taking your first touch. You're not going to run away from the ball. You're telling the game, okay, if you hold the left analog stick, let's say upwards, you're going to say to the game, okay, when the ball comes to my feet, I want to take a touch upwards into the area. So what effectively you want to do is prepare where you want to take a touch. So as soon as you make that pass, your eyes should not be facing or looking at this area anymore. You should be looking at this area and taking a touch away. Now that is the basic principle. If you take a touch away, you'll never lose the ball. Even if there's 2 players like this, let's say the ball comes towards you. Well, it's pretty obvious now you'll know not to take a touch either below. But where would you take a touch into safety? Well, the same pie chart kind of exists. But let's say we did it this way. So, of course, the white area over here, this would be the no-go zone. But anywhere in front over here, you can take it. I would say, just to be on the safe side, I won't take to number 6. But you can take a touch, honestly, anywhere over here. So I would normally take it upwards or like this or like this. And does that mean that you're going to go backwards? Yes. Well, that's what you have to do. As I said, if you're up against someone in the lower division, maybe they don't know what they're doing, you can maybe turn around with the ball and beat them. But in general FIFA, not like real life, you can't take a turn and beat the player. Now, where you can take that risk is inside the box. Let's say, for example, you have the ball over there. But realistically, if you take a turn, you're still going to get beaten. And that is why I say use a fake shot or a simple left stick touch to give yourself an angle. But that's why I say if you can pass the ball. Now people pass the ball normally outside the box and then they can't take a touch. And if they do, the player makes a mistake, they have time to then recover. But this is why I say if you beat the defender inside the box, let's say for example you take a touch hit to player's left or to the player's right away from him, you can just take a shot towards goal straight after and he hasn't got time to recover. So what I'm trying to say to you is everywhere in the first 2/3 of the pitch, or first 4/5 should I say, you should be taking touches away safely. If there's nowhere to go for, if there's players behind you, let's say for example like here and there's a player behind you and there's nowhere to go, you make that pass backwards. So you either do here, a simple X pass backwards, or a 1-2, which is an L1 plus X. And don't forget, that means this player will then make a run going forward. So you'll make a pass backwards, you'll also make a run in behind, and you recycle the ball, you pass the ball around. Don't try to force the ball. What works in the lower divisions won't work again. That's why a lot of players, they get stuck in the lower divisions, because what they think is working or the right way doesn't work when they go forward. And that's why they end up just staying in the same place every FIFA normally, up until eventually they find the more weaker players go up divisions, and then you eventually gradually go up with a no relegation system. And that is the basics. Okay, now what do you do if there's so many players in the middle? You literally just take the touch away. If you're not too sure, just take a touch simply away like that. Remember, this is the key principle. If you're not doing this, you're going to miss the ball. When can you take the risk? If there's a space in behind in a final third, that is when I'll take a touch. I'll try taking a shot towards goal, or I'll try to play someone else through. But only if there's space around you. And that's the general rule of thumb. If you're going to make a pass from whichever player, let's say from player 3 to player 1, you take a touch safe away from them. Have a look at this example over here. You can see most of the time, I'm just going to show you a couple of examples here in the background. You can see most of the time, I'm taking a touch away from my opponent. Have a look at my left analog stick. I'm slowing this one down. I'm slowing these down, also these clips. Have a look. The ball comes to me. I take a touch away into a safe area. Now, going back to tactical board, you're going to say is, okay, so when do you not take a touch safely? Well, that's only if the player is not there. Let's say, for example, you do a 1-2 and he runs out and you get the ball back at your feet again. Then you can take a touch wherever you want to go. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if there's a player in front of you, right next to you, you have to take a touch into a safe area first. That's the most simplest, basic. This is the most common mistake that players even make in the top tier elite divisions, because they're just not 100% sure how to do it. And as I said to you, it's a common mistake that people just sometimes forget about. Even myself, I don't forget about it because of my experience. But what I can tell you is a lot of people that learn this, when they're frustrated or they're rushing, they end up making the mistakes because they're like in panic. Even sometimes when I'm panicking or we need to get that goal quickly as soon as I can, I end up doing it as well. But you have to kind of reset yourself, take a touch, play it slower. The more you rush, the more mistakes you'll make, the harder it will be. That is the first episode on taking a touch. Remember, ball comes to your feet, you take your left analog stick and you take a touch away. I want you to go into a game and just practice taking a touch away. That's all I want you to do. You're going to see how much easier it is to retain the ball. No run button, just simple left analog stick touch away. And we're going to have a gameplay example after this to show you what I mean.